The images you can see are that of a sunflower and a cashew. But between the two, which do you think is the fruit and which is the seed? Right now, you might say both cashew and sunflower are seeds, although really one isn't. This is because the one we commonly refer to as the sunflower seeds are actually fruits. The actual seeds of sunflowers are inside these hard fruits. On the other hand, the cashew that we eat is the seed. This cashew seed hangs at the end of what is referred to as the cashew apple. This is the edible swollen fruit stem or pedicel. These two examples provide us with the idea that development of fruits vary with the nature of the carpels, as well as the nature of the mature fruit. For this video, our goal is to explain the development of a fruit in a flowering plant and describe the ways fruits are classified. Flowering plants have seeds enclosed by a fruit. Seeds develop from ovules and fruits develop from ovaries. Looking closely, we see the diploid zygote and the triploid endosperm fertilized by the sperm cells during double fertilization. This is located inside the ovule. Because zygote that will become the embryo is located inside the ovule, the structure becomes the seed. The structure enclosing the ovule is the ovary. As it matures, the wall of the ovary enlarges and forms to become the fleshy or dry pulp of the fruit that protects the seeds. By definition, a fruit is the mature ovary of a flower. The fruit protects the enclosed seeds and when mature aids in their dispersal by wind or animals. After flowers such as those of the American pokeweed, shown here, are fertilized, stamens and petals fall off, stigmas and styles wither, and the ovary walls that house the developing seeds swell to form fruits. Thus, fertilization trigger hormonal changes that cause the ovary to begin its transformation into a fruit. If a flower has not been pollinated, fruit typically does not develop and the flower usually withers and dies. Upon development of the fruit, the ovary wall thickens and forms 3 layers. The relative thickness and fleshiness of these layers vary with fruit type. The entire fruit wall, whether composed of 1, 2, or 3 layers, is called the pericarp. As you can see in the image, the pericarp is the region between the ovary wall and the layer outside the seed coat. Now let us examine the 3 layers of the grown ovary wall or the pericarp. The exocarp is the outer layer and it is the skin or peel of a fruit. The middle layer is the mesocarp, also known as the flesh, while the innermost layer is the endocarp, which may be tough like the stones or pits of peaches, or it may be thin and fleshy like that of grapes. As the ovary grows, the other parts of the flower usually wither and are shed. All fruits may be classified into 3 major groups on the basis of the number of ovaries and the number of flowers involved in their formation. Most fruits are derived from a single carpel or several fused carpels and are called simple fruits. Other results from a single flower that has more than one separate carpel, each forming a small fruit, and are thus called aggregate fruits. While some fruits develop from a group of flowers tightly clustered together, each bearing carpels that fuse together and become one fruit and are called as multiple fruits. In addition, there are fruits that don't really develop from ovary walls, but rather from the receptacle of flowers. That's why they are not considered true fruits, but rather as accessory fruit. Let's go over each of the types of fruits in detail. Simple fruits are derived from the ovary of a single carpel or several fused carpels. In this example, the pea flower consists of one carpel consisting the stigma, a style, and a single ovary containing many ovules. Thus, as it matures, it develops into a fruit that has a lot of seeds. In addition, a simple fruit is either fleshy or dry. Now let's look at simple fleshy fruits. When ripe, the pericarp of fleshy fruits is often soft and juicy. The following are the most common types of fleshy fruits. We have the berry, the hesperidium, the pepo, the drupe, and the pome. Let's get to know each of the following in detail. So a berry has a thin exocarp, a soft fleshy mesocarp, and an endocarp enclosing one to many seeds. Tomatoes, grapes, and blueberries are familiar berries. Next we have is Hesperidium. Hesperidium type fruits are always covered with a leathery rind, and partitions separating their carpels are tough and fibrous. The orange, lemon, grapefruit, and all members of the citrus family are good examples of the Hesperidium type of fruit. The pepo is covered by a rind that is hard and thick. Below the rind, the rest of the ovary wall is soft and fleshy. The cucumber, the pumpkin, and watermelon are good examples of the pepo type of fruit. If a fruit is fleshy and it has a hard stony pit containing a seed, it is classified as drupe. Cherries, peaches, and plums are examples. Coconuts are also drupes but have a fibrous walls instead of the fleshy walls found in most drupes. Cracking the pit open reveals a single seed formed from a single ovule contained within the ovary of the flower. Pomes are fruits that develop from flower parts other than the ovary. For this reason, pomes are often called as accessory fruits because the fruit was developed not only from the ovary but also from other structures of the flower, including the petals and the sepals combined. To better understand this, we look to the next one. In apple flowers, the ovary is embedded in the receptacle to which the fleshy part is derived. Receptacle is the stalk that joins all other parts of the flower. It is only the apple core that develops from the ovary while the rest came from the receptacle. Because the ovary is situated inside the receptacle instead of above it, the fruit that will be developed will also be composed of the tissues that make up the receptacle. Hence, the fleshy part of pomes develop from the fused receptacle and the ovary wall. Now we go to simple dry fruits from simple fleshy fruits. And we have two types. First, dry fruits are classified as dehiscent or indehiscent. There are three common types of dehiscent fruits: the follicles, the legumes, and capsules. Each are characterized by the way in which they open. So first we have legumes. The legume type fruit is derived from a simple ovary with two rows of ovules. Legumes split along lines of dehiscence following maturation and drying. This type of fruit structure is a characteristic of peas, beans, and peanuts. The peanut is one of the few legumes that does not split open when ripe. This is probably because the fruit of the peanut develops in the soil rather than in the air. Unlike the legume, the capsule is composed of more than one carpel. Fruits like the lily split lengthwise into sections corresponding to the number of carpels. The sweet gum fruit, being a cluster of capsules, releases winged seeds as each ovary cracks open at maturity. Next we have is follicle. Follicle fruits develop from a single ripened ovary and split once to release their seeds. Unlike legumes that split along two edges of the carpel, follicles split open along one seam. And the cut or the split is always lengthwise along one edge of the carpel. Follicles may occur singly as that of the milkweed or in clusters such as that of the columbine. Another type of dry fruits are the indehiscent fruits. Indehiscent fruits retain their seeds and do not crack open after ripening. Indehiscent fruits include achenes, samaras, grains, and nuts. The achene consists of a single seed that is attached to the wall of the ovary at only one point. The ovary wall of achenes are thin and undeveloped so much that when it dries out, the fruit form has a seed-like appearance. Examples of achene include sunflowers, dandelions, and buckwheat. As mentioned in the introduction of this video, the sunflower seed is actually a fruit. If you remove the dried up part or wall of the fruit, the sunflower seed is found underneath. If the wall of the dry indehiscent fruit is thin, transparent, and firmly attached to all points of the seed coat, then that fruit is a grain. Grain type of fruits are produced by members of the grass family, which include important food crops such as rice, corn, and wheat. Samara is a wind-borne fruit containing a single seed. It is much like an achene except for the paper-like wing which develops from the ovary wall of the flower. Winged Samara fruits are characteristic of elms, maples, and ashes. Lastly, nuts are one-seeded fruits with hard stony pericarps such as hazelnuts, chestnuts, and acorns. Except for its larger size, the nut is very similar in structure to the achene. In nuts such as the acorn and chestnut, the shell is the coat of the fruit. Moving from simple, we now have another type of fruits called compound fruits. This is a type of fruit in which it develops from several ovaries in either a single flower or multiple flowers. Compound fruits may be aggregate or multiple. Let's start with the aggregate fruits. An aggregate fruit results from the joining together of several ovaries of the same flower. In this example of the raspberry, the multiple ovaries can be found in a single flower. Each ovary contains, of course, a single ovule that develops into a seed following fertilization. As the ovaries develop and increase in size, they become attached together, forming what seems to be a whole fruit. However, each are actually individual fruits that joined or fused together. Raspberries are examples of true aggregate fruits, while strawberries are examples of accessory aggregate fruits. Recall that accessory fruits are fruits that are derived not only from the ovary but also the receptacle, wherein each fruit in the raspberries is a drupe containing a stony pit. We therefore say that this is a true fruit, true aggregate fruit. On the other hand, the many ovaries of the strawberry flower develop into achenes which become embedded on the surface of the enlarged flower receptacle. Another, we have the multiple fruit. Some plants bear single flowers on a stem, while some plants have multiple flowers attached in one common point. When multiple flowers are clustered together, we call it an inflorescence. A multiple fruit develops from an inflorescence. When the ovaries in each of the flowers start to mature and thicken, they fuse together and become incorporated into one fruit known as, like this one, the pineapple. The pineapple is a cluster of mature ovaries with accessory parts including the receptacle and portions of the sepals and bracts. The difference between an aggregate and a multiple fruit is that an aggregate fruit has multiple ovaries coming from a single flower, while multiple fruits have numerous ovaries coming from different flowers that fuse together. Lastly, how are the seeds inside these fruits become dispersed? Well, fruits have two main functions, one of which is the protection of the seeds. Many developing fruits contain chemicals that animals find distasteful, so the immature seeds inside remain safe from herbivory. Once the seeds are mature, however, the fruit changes. It becomes soft, sweet, and appealing to animals. These changes relate to the second function of fruits, which is to promote seed dispersal by animals, wind, and water. Regardless of the transportation mode, the seeds are often deposited far from the parent plant, promoting reproductive success by minimizing competition between parent and offspring. We now come to the summary of the video. The fruit develops from the ovary. After fertilization, the ovary and sometimes other plant parts develops into a fruit. Fruits can either be true or accessory. True fruits come from that of the inside or mainly from the ovary, and accessory fruits come from not only the ovary but also some parts including the receptacle. Further, fruits can be classified as simple, aggregate, or multiple. Simple fruits are derived from the ovary of a single carpel or several fused carpels and are described as fleshy or dry. Aggregate fruits develop from a single flower with many separate carpels. After fertilization, the ovary and sometimes other plant parts develops into a fruit. Multiple fruits result from the fusion of ovaries from many separate flowers on an inflorescence. And lastly, fruits protect and disperse the seeds. The fruit protects the seeds and aids in dispersal. So animals with wind and water disperse seeds to new habitats.